Eddie Alvarez, kind enough to join us right now. There he is. Edward, how are you?
What's up, Ariel?
Good to talk to you. I was happy to see you there. I was happy to see you there. It was cool to see you in attendance. Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't go to a lot of these, right? I know it's somewhat local, but you're not usually at these.
No, I don't. But my sons become huge fans of the UFC, and UFC was gracious enough to get us some tickets. So I was able to take my sons there, and they're able to enjoy the event. The event was incredible. Like overall, like I was in awe looking back, like kind of standing there watching it from the outside, not being a competitor in it, kind of seeing how far it came. So, and my sons were, I mean, they were going crazy seeing all the fighters, the fighters they like to compete and stuff like that. So it was a fun event. And I personally, selfishly I wanted to see Dustin kind of write that storybook ending.
Yeah.
I'm a dreamer. A big part of me is a dreamer. And I'm like, man, this would be like, I got to be there to see this happen if for any chance it does happen. And we were close. We were close, man.
Well, let's see how it plays out. I'm just curious, was that the first time your boys went to a fight as fans?
I don't believe so, but in the mindset they are now, probably like as real fans, because it's all starting to connect. They're all starting to connect the dots now. Like
Yeah.
their friends love it. The sports become mainstream, and they're true fans of the UFC. When they were younger, they just didn't. You know what I mean? My wife did a good job separating me from the sport, and that's your dad, and your dad just happens to fight, not, hey, your dad's the fighter. And she did such a good job that it's all starting, as they're getting older, they're starting to connect the dots now. I love that.
This is fascinating because your boys are in high school, right?
My one's graduating this year, and the other one who he's starting to train and loves it is my son Anthony. He's 16, and I have another one, Alistair, but he's not so interested in the sport.
The reason I ask that is I have noticed, especially in the last 4 years, like really since the pandemic, obviously this is what I do for a living, like my family members or friends of friends, whatever, no one wanted to ever talk to me about MMA or about the fights, about 302 or about 192 and 193. Teenagers now, like my nephews, my cousins who are in their teens, won't stop. They have parties. They're going to movie theaters. This is all they want to talk about. This was never a thing. Teenagers were never into cage fighting. Were never into MMA. And I'm not even quite sure what changed, if it was the ESPN deal, the pandemic, the betting, the this or that. But it's fascinating to hear this because even I'm being asked to speak at high schools. And like usually when I talk to kids, they're like, oh, what do? You interview athletes? Now they're like, is this specific guy, is Jack Della Maddalena going to be a UFC champion? Like, how do you guys know about this? So your sons are experiencing the same thing. That must be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think if I had to put a finger on it, it's the video games, man. So like, I think it's a portion of it with, the Nelk boys are a direct line to these young kids, and then you got Sean O'Malley is a direct line to these young kids, and then you got video games, which the video games themselves, I get a lot of kids that come up to me and say, hey, I'm your character in the video game. So like it kind of still connects me with that young crowd. Even though I'm an older fighter, I'm considered a legend in the game, not so much an athlete of the game, but like a legend on the legend part of it or on my tail end of my career. So like it still connects me with that younger audience, and they're happy to like play my character and stuff like that. So I think it's the video games that do that.
Now that your kids are into it, are they going back and looking at your old fights and appreciating what you did more? And how's that for you?
All the time. All the time. It's great. I'm like, it's funny because I'm like, their whole lives, I fought their whole lives. My son Eddie, he was at, front row in Japan when I was doing my thing. He was in Costa Rica. He was at 1 year. My wife, Jamie, 1 year old, brought him to Costa Rica during the
Bodog.
During Bodog days. Yeah.
Wow.
He's traveled the world watching me fight, but like now I think it's his friends put a massive amount of value on it. So they're putting value on it now. So it's good to see it come full circle. And then I train with my kids, which is the ultimate, like dad moments I have in that. So like it's cool. It's cool to see it full circle.
Does any part of you want to? You're like, man, I wish I could just fight a few more times because now they'll like be in my corner. Like now they'll like go through the training camp with me. This is different than when they're in diapers.
I have. I mean, my last two bare knuckle fights were in this last past year, and they've been in them, been at the events, been at the press conferences, and probably went on runs with me, get preparing and stuff like that. But yeah, they're there, man. I'm not a big proponent of pushing your kids to fight, but if it's in their heart and they really, really want to do it, then yeah. But I'm not that dad, like, hey, you should fight, and kind of my fighting was my thing that was in my heart that I wanted to do. My kids need to find what's in their heart that they want to do, and then whatever it is, I'll support it. But I'm not pushing them to, throw a pair of gloves on and get in a cage unless that's what they want to do.
Do you think either of them will go down the fighting path, like the actual prize fighter path that you went down? Yes.
Yeah.
Both?
I almost, I think my son Anthony for sure.
Wow.
He's gonna have to scratch that itch, and my son Eddie may get curious at some point. But yeah, I think you're gonna see some young Alvarez's in the cage at some point. They're not gonna fight. I know.
Wow. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I thought I was kind of 1 foot out of this, and this has been a difficult life and a tough life and stressful. And I kind of had 1 foot out of the cage, and now it's like, oh, I'm all in. Maybe this is going to be my entire life.
Damn.
I thought it'll just be like my half life, but now maybe it'll be my entire life, and I'm okay with that as long as it's in their heart. I freaking love fighting. That's all I ever did. It's all I ever wanted to do. I just know how difficult of a life it can be. So like, a part of that makes me a little bit reluctant.
What about your wife? Whatever. How does she feel about this?
Jamie's always been crazy supportive of me, but I know she'd rather me, not put myself in danger. And for sure, she don't want to put her kids in danger.
Yeah.
But I think she's a good judge of character. She knows, like, hey, if it's in one of their hearts and they're true to it, and that's what they want to do, 100%, like any mother, let them scratch that itch. Let them fly, type thing. You don't want to see it, but you have to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so no one better than you to ask your assessment of the main event. You once ruled that division, Islam and Dustin. What was your take on the fight? How it played out? Your sort of expectations, and then how it actually played out.
Yeah, so I was hopeful for Dustin, right? The probability for me, I went on a run the day before, and after the run, I was trying to make my own case for Dustin to win, right?
Mentally, like, just to yourself? You were just talking to yourself?
I'm on a run, and I'm like, how can he, if he does it, how can he do it, right? And I couldn't make the case for myself. I couldn't do it. I got done the run. I said, Islam's going to win. And there's nothing we could do. How's he going to ever close that gap on that suffocating Dagestani wrestling? Like, if you haven't been through a D1 college level wrestling your whole life, how do you close the gap on that type of fighter? Ever? How do you close the gap on that? And Dustin was as perfect as he could to do it that night. And then slipped up slightly toward the end, but he was fighting a near perfect fight to get that done, right? Like, he was putting him in a fight. And wrestling, that type of wrestling that they do, Khabib and Islam. Here's my best style breakdown. Khabib, his greatness was he never fought midway. Khabib fought way far away or suffocated you in. He never put himself in danger. So he was either on top of you, suffocating you, you can't breathe, or way far away to never get hit. He was beautiful in that he did that. And he never got really hurt during his fights because he was able to. Islam's different because Islam plays in between a lot more. He takes a lot more risk. he goes for a lot more submissions. He tries to finish. So he puts himself in more danger than Khabib ever did. So he's susceptible to getting beat more than Khabib was when you look at Dustin versus Khabib or Dustin versus Islam. And Islam gave Dustin them opportunities. He went for the Kimura early. Dustin almost reversed it. He kept trying to go for things, or he was more willing to engage and in between standing up. And he took damage for that. The problem is with this whole matchup, this is the problem. I don't care how great of a striker you are. You could be black belt level. If you wrestle for 5 minutes, you're blue belt level. And if you wrestle for 5 more minutes, you're white belt level. So if you allow these guys to wrestle you for 8 minutes or more, your striking means nothing. Your explosiveness is gone. Your shoulders are gone. Your legs are gone. Your pop is out of there. It's all gone. So a guy like Dustin who relies on that power that he has to put people away, they zap it from you. They take it from you early in the fight with the wrestling. But Dustin was in so good of a shape and so mentally clear and focused that he was able to kind of reset each round and keep himself in the fight. No matter what went on that round, Islam had his back for 5 whole minutes, no problem. Breathe through it. You know, by minute 15, that wrestling isn't going to be the same. And it's going to eventually become you two standing up, and he can do what Dustin does, kind of put that sprint on him, put him away. The sprint never came, and Dustin kind of, maybe it was a little bit too late, and the energy got sucked from him. Islam was able to do that cool-ass little sweep he did with the single leg and transition right to the anaconda choke that he got. It was great finish, but that's the difficulty. It's like dissecting the Dagestanians and the way they approach fights and how they fight. It's definitely a puzzle, but Dustin helped us solve that a little bit more on Saturday night. He helps us all solve it a little bit more.
Wow. And by the way, that breakdown was so freaking good. That was amazing. Thank you for that. Were you surprised that he was able to keep it standing, or, certain, like, there was a minute there where I was like, shit, this might be over in 2 minutes. You know what I mean? After all that.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought the same thing you did. When Islam got him to the floor, and it was too early to get to the floor because they weren't sweating enough.
Yeah.
They're still dry. And, you got this guy on top of you. He's fresh too, so he's able to go for submissions more explosively, more power. You got a full energized guy on top of you going for submissions. And Islam, he loves that Kimura, and he locks that in pretty quick, and he gets it on everyone. And he was about to lock it in, and a big part of me is like, oh damn, that was a little bit early, and Dustin was able to reverse. And like I said, Islam is not Khabib. He doesn't fight like Khabib. He takes more chances. He takes more risk and relies on finishing guys, where Khabib he knew you weren't going to be able to deal with him over time, and he would take you from 100% energy to 0 energy, and then he would finish you. Islam's he's going to go for it. He's going to leave himself more vulnerable. So he's a little bit funner to watch, but he's more susceptible to getting beat than Khabib was.
Fictitious world. Who do you think wins? Prime Khabib or Prime Islam? Head to head.
Oh man, great fight. I think Khabib. I mean, especially based on how much damage Islam took against Dustin. You know what I mean? I think if I had to, I think based on that, and I think it's a boring fight to watch. It's not something I'd ever be interested in watching, or maybe fans would just because they're brothers, but it's not something I'd be interested in watching. I think it'd be a chess match that only like someone like, or like high level fighters would tune in for.
Is there anything that you think when the smoke clears, Dustin will kick himself about, that he could have done this instead of that? Or do you think he laid it out all on, like he like literally did everything. But I said at the beginning of the show, like, what impressed me so much about Islam, this was a title defense for Islam, but he was fighting a guy who I think was like quite literally ready to die to become UFC champion. Like he did everything possible. He wanted this so badly, and he still couldn't get it done against Islam. That's how good he is. Do you think there's anything that he could have done in retrospect, or that was it? That was the best that he could do?
I mean, I think me and the rest of the audience watching probably thought that was the best Dustin Poirier
Yeah.
we've seen. The transition, the single leg thing. I mean, dude, he fought. I couldn't have been happier or more proud of Dustin. You know who's in the crowd? This is funny. Dustin, and people probably, casual fans don't know this, but Eve Edwards was in the crowd. And
Ah,
if you know Dustin Poirier, you got to know Eve Edwards. You got to know the story of them too. Dustin is Eve Edwards. He's his protege. He's a southpaw, thug jitsu. He loves to strike, stand, and bang. Has a beautiful, fun style to watch, and he has good jujitsu too. He can back it up with that. Eves was in the crowd, and Eves called me, and I said, "Hey, man, you here?" And he said, "Yeah." And I loved watching Eves when I was young, and I thought that it was an awesome moment that we both, Eves, myself, and I think a lot of the audience just wanted to see Dustin kind of finish this. But you know what? It doesn't fucking matter, man. It really doesn't fucking matter. The belts are for, and Dustin knows this. The belts are, they're material, and they're for the casual audience. What he's done, and what he's created, and the people he's beat, myself included, like the stuff that's got to be enough. I would love to talk to him because I feel like there's a part of him that is never going to be satisfied, and I felt that way. And it took me. I mean, I'm 40 years old now. It took me a long time to be kind to myself and tell myself, "Hey, man, you're good. Be a friend to yourself, and let you know that you're okay." Because it's a tough way to live, never being satisfied. It's difficult.
so it's interesting to hear you say like the belt doesn't matter, and I agree. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest ever. I don't necessarily love the greatest to never win a belt conversation because I feel like it's somewhat disrespectful because he was there and he fought three of the greatest lightweights of all time: Khabib, Charles, Islam in a title fight. Right? I mean, unbelievable. But you're saying that, and you're sitting in front of a pretty impressive, case right there with a Bellator belt, a UFC belt, and a one championship belt. So is it easier for you to say, "Hey, man, it doesn't matter. You did it all," when you've done it, as opposed to talking to someone who hasn't climbed the mountain?
It is, but this isn't for me. I'm on a fucking show. The people tune in because they see this stupid shit.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is
Like,
you've done it. You've done it. You know when you go to bed at night, in those moments, you were the greatest.
yeah, in that moment, and so many things have to come together. Timing, uh, there's so many things have to come together, and you have to be in the sport so long and not quit, and be okay with, at some point I'll get my turn. And I don't know, man. I just, yeah, maybe it is easier for me to say. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, or maybe it is easier for me to say, but I don't know. I just feel like he needs to be okay with it. And I think if he doesn't have the belt, then it should be people who he respects. I know Dustin respects me, and people like me, his peers, saying, "Hey, motherfucker, like you did it. Forget it. Like you did it, man. Like be okay, be kind to yourself, and know that like you're a world champion, regardless of what you got on the shelf." You know?
Based on what he said afterwards, you think he fights again? You know that
Yeah,
talk. Yeah. It feels like it, right?
yeah, 100%. He's not. He's not. He's not. He's not going to fight.
Right, right.
Um, I said 35 myself.
And now
I
let's
said 35, and then I bumped it to 37, and then you know, and then I'm November. I'm looking to fight in November. So like
Oh, what do we got? What do we
I don't
got?
know. I don't got nothing. I just know I want to fight someone in November. So like I want to kind of enjoy the summer, and um I know in November, and just the way I'm ramping up and the way I feel, I'm satisfied with my time off here, and I'm ready to fight somebody. So I know that.
Bare knuckle, MMA, what are we thinking?
I can't say that yet, but
Okay. Is that because you
I'm
don't
I'm
know, or because you?
because I don't know.
Okay.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Even off record, I'll tell you if there's something cooking. But no, I'm just know myself, and if anybody else is interested in a big fight, let's fight in November. So if you're out there and you're listening,
Yeah.
I want to fight you, whoever you are. If it's a big fight, I'd like to do it. If it's a fight fans would be interested in, I'll do it.
You're not tied to anyone, right? Contractually?
No,
Okay.
no. Yeah, I'm not tied to anyone. I'm excited about kind of doing that. And here now, news on my end is we're opening up a performance institute right by my house. So
Oh,
only like 10, 15 minutes away. I partnered with an influential gym owner in the area, guy named Jim Worthington, and we're working on a partnership to build a PI, our own PI in Newtown, Pennsylvania. So state of the art, 20,000 square foot building, everything, recovery, you name it, crazy mat space, official cage, box, and everything. So like I'm opening up my own PI, and I want to train at it and get ready for a fight at it. And I want to be able to do that fight by November. So that's my kind of short term goals for this year, and that's kind of my focus right now.
by the way, the PI that you would be opening up, would that be for pros only, or could regular people use it?
No. It's it'll have like there's the mat space is kind of sectioned.
Got it.
And beginners, intermediate will be on one section, and then there'll be a whole pro side that them people aren't allowed at. That side will be all for elite people trying to fist fight for a living, trying to make it to the UFC,
Right.
make it to PFL, make it to bare knuckle, and do whatever they got to do.
Do you have a dream opponent for November? Do you have like a wish list?
No, I don't. I just no, I don't have anyone in particular. I know that there's a couple free agents out there that are possible. You know what I mean? I know I Masvidal and Nate are fighting each other.
Yeah.
And there's I can't say people who aren't who are under contract. It'd be silly. So like even if I had a dream opponent, like I like to fight this guy. Well, if he's under contract, then I just be getting a lot of people excited for no reason. But whoever's not under contract, who kind of you think, you know, I want to run with come November. So, and I'll do it anyway. I'll do it MMA, boxing, bare knuckle,
Right.
like you guys name it. I just want to get in a fight in November, probably.
By the way, I'm always curious on your take on the business, and I'm wondering what you think of the business right now, the MMA business. It's a little bit weird, right? Because there's the UFC, and then obviously by default there's PFL. That Bellator doesn't exist anymore as a third option, right? It's all under, and then like one is kind of, it feels like they're getting out of the MMA business, and then there's not much else, right? There's not a lot of options all of a sudden for fighters. What do you think of it?
Yeah. I mean, there's bare knuckle, and
Yeah.
that's not in the MMA world. So
Right.
that's not even.
But it's become like they're the default like three now, right?
They are. If you want to be promoted and become a known person, you know what I mean? Because when you look at bare knuckles videos, they're getting 1 million and up.
Yeah.
They're getting 1 million and up. Sometimes UFC fights aren't even getting 1 million and up when it comes to YouTube. So if you want to be known, you want to get your name out there. There's a UFC in bare knuckle right now. I don't know if there's very well-known PFL fighters. You know what I mean? Sean Strickland had a funny take on bare knuckle, and I thought it was kind of
What'd he say?
funny. He said something like called it like a shit promotion, and that they pay like shit and blah blah blah. And I'm like, that's ironic for a guy who just like literally you fought in UFC your entire life for nothing, and you literally just got your first big little paycheck, and you're gonna talk shit on, a promotion that is just starting. You know what I mean? So like, I thought it was cute of him to say something about payment, because he's like, oh, they don't get paid like he probably does well in UFC, but like I make more than Sean Strickland. I fight bare knuckle.
Yeah, he's complained about his pay too. He's complained about his pay as well. So.
But he's a complainer of pay, but he's talking about other promotions.
Sure. No, I know.
Hey, motherfucker, they pay. Like they pay more than you're getting paid, and you're like this famous, well-known I don't know how many how many followers he has and how famous he is. My son loves him. So like he's a guy, he's like a UFC character. And but he was talking shit on bare knuckle. So like I took some and I'm like, why don't you say shit about bare knuckle, man? Yeah, I mean, we're getting paid. So
What do you think of his performance, by the way?
I was videoing because everyone behind me was yelling, "You're a bitch! You fucking suck, you pussy!"
Oh, jeez. That's-
But no, I look. Sean's a tough motherfucker. I like watching him fight. It's usually a good fight, but he got ran from. There's nothing he can do, right? So like he's trying to bring a fight on, and the guy he's fighting, you need a dance partner, and the
Right.
guy was just running. So like I would have liked Paulo to put his foot down and know that you don't have to run if the guy's coming forward. You can meet him right in the middle and make it a fight. But Paulo thought that he needed to run if the guy moved forward. It's like, no, put your foot down, and that's where the fight happens. So I mean, he was fighting a guy who didn't want to fight, so you can't really blame him, So the whole thing sucked. The fight sucked.
Yeah.
The crowd sucked. It kind of sucked that that was the co-main event.
Right. Right. I wanted to ask you just two more things. The Islam that we saw on Saturday, and you talked about how Dustin kind of like taught you guys, okay, there's a path to having success against Islam. Are you familiar with Arman Tsarukyan? And
Arman beats him.
wow,
I know what you're going to ask
yeah,
me already, and I made that assumption right after the fight
wow,
because look at who Khabib went against, right?
yeah,
Everybody Khabib defended against he had what I call distinct grappling advantage, like the gap in their grappling advantage was so high, and he dominated these guys. He never had to take the risk of getting his shot stopped, not securing a takedown, not being on top. And Islam just had to deal with that for a little bit. And look how bad it kind of went the other way when he couldn't get the guy to the ground and control him. Who were Khabib's three opponents? I think it was like so Michael Johnson wasn't going to give Khabib the fight as far as grappling. He had two.
Ally Quinta.
Yeah, Al was the only guy, and Al was like not high level wrestling, but Al was doing it to him.
Yeah.
He was showing us what Dustin was showing us on Saturday.
Yeah.
Like if you're able to match their wrestling a little bit, where they can't dominate you, and you could put them in a fight, you start to see they're a little bit human, right? So I think Arman, because of his wrestling background, he's going to be able to stop the shot. He may even take Islam down a little bit. Islam won't be the hammer the entire fight. And we need to see how they're going to deal with that because they're always the hammer, always the hammer. And that's easy to do. But when you get a guy like Arman who can match your wrestling ability, make you work and breathe heavy and work for your grappling positions and advantage, now that's a fight. That's a fight I want to see. That's a fight I'm interested in. And I don't know if they want that fight. I feel like they don't want that fight.
Yo, it's crazy how quickly you answered my question. Like you are certain Arman beats him.
I bet a lot on Arman against
Oliveira.
Oliveira.
Yeah.
And I won. I was next to a guy who we were at the sports book. He put like 12,000 down on Arman.
Oh,
and I told him, hey, bet Arman. I didn't know he was going to bet 12,000, but like,
did you know who you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was at an event. I was at an event.
Okay, got it.
And so he bets the 12,000, and I'm like, oh shit, that was a little much, man. But so Arman wins, but like what we seen was Arman was willing to go full nude to not get tapped.
Yeah.
Like the persistence he had and like the willingness not to quit in the midst of a Charles Oliveira or guillotine or whatever he had him in was pretty crazy. And so like that style, that pace, that's what we need to see Islam in. That's what we needed to see Khabib in. A guy like that style, because we've seen him rarely ever run into a guy like that. So I need to see that. I need to see that. I need to see them in a fight where they're not so much the hammer, see them get beat up a little bit.
One last one for you. Part of the reason, one of the many reasons I wanted to have you on today, was to get your incredible insight on the card and see how you and your family enjoyed it. But we were supposed to be coming on like 2.5 hours after a Conor McGregor press conference in Dublin with Michael Chandler, which, in case you missed, was postponed or canceled, whichever word you want to use. This morning, the word got out. And so, I was just wondering what your reaction was to all of that. We don't know the status of the fight as of now. And if they do, in fact, fight, we've talked about this fight before, but now that we're getting closer, so I don't know if you've done a run about this fight as well, who you're favoring, because you know those guys very well.
I think me and Dustin have kind of the same take that if we get to see Conor, even 80% of what Conor was, you know, when he was fighting Aldo, myself, and like when he was on that little streak where he's fighting Diaz, and if we get to see 80% of that, I don't think Mike deals with that. You know, I don't think Mike's able to do it. Mike, the kryptonite in Mike is his defense, and he's so willing to kind of open himself up, and he's so wide and big that Dustin said something earlier, like Conor's a sniper, and he's right. It's like there's a really small margin for error because Conor's speed, his the way how quickly he reacts and his speed to things, there's a small margin for error, and Mike Chandler makes a lot of error. Like there's a lot of error in what he does, and he's really good offensively, but he don't work on exits. He don't work on getting out of the way after he's offensive. And a lot of his training should be his befores, his feints, and his afters. Mm-hmm. But I think he's always focused on punching so hard and trying to hurt the guy that there's no stress on, hey, let's work on your before so you don't know when you're coming. And then you go and then work on your exit to get out safely. I think he should be more on that, but he's not. He isn't. He's not really. He's just all about 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or like whatever he's doing. So I could see him get knocked out, you know, trying to play that game with Conor. But it's MMA. I've been wrong before. No. I hope he shoots a single leg. You know, I hope he tags Conor, keeps feinting, and then keeps shooting a single and making Conor think about, oh shit, he might take me down, and I might have to suffer on the ground a little bit. If he does that, then I could see the fight evolving into a dominant Mike Chandler fight. But he don't do that. He doesn't use that weapon that he has.
I maintain that it's a crime that we don't have Eddie Alvarez as a TV analyst or as a podcast guy. Like your insight is tremendous. The way you break things down, it's tremendous. So I feel like this needs to happen in some way, shape, or form. But I'm grateful and thankful that you come on our show and provide this insight. So thank you so much, Eddie. Appreciate it very much. Enjoy the summer. Thanks for always giving us some time, and looking forward to the return later this year. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it very much. Hey, if you like this video, give us the old thumbs up. Subscribe as well. You can get many more of these videos on the channel. So please do that. We would love you forever if you did so.